Alright, so I'm back with the next engine building series video. The last video I got the short block finished, so if you didn't see that, go check it out. I'll put a card up here somewhere. Alright, so I didn't take a video of me putting it on the stand because that's not too spectacular, but the short block is officially done at this point. Yeah, everything's good to go. Off camera, I took this flywheel off again. So that I could reseal the air oil separator, not air oil separator, but the oil separator cover. So I don't think that I showed the air oil separator cover very well, but it's different from what the engine came with. So on the block, there's a very thin area where the cover contacts the block, and in the Subaru manual, it tells you to put the sealant on the cover and then install the cover. But when I did that, the sealant was kind of all over the place, and I wasn't 100% sure that it was full coverage. And being that that cover is where it is, I didn't want to take the risk of putting the engine in and having it leak, because that would mean I'd have to pull the whole engine out again to replace that cover. So it was worth the extra step just to take the flywheel off. I had to clean all the bolts and stuff and reinstall everything. But it was a good double check. When I pulled it off, I did see some spots where it was a little thin. That may have leaked, may have not leaked, but you know, whatever. But the second time around when I did it, if you're not using the factory cover and you're using, I don't think they make the factory covers anymore. So everything's stamped steel now. It used to be cast aluminum covers. So if you get a stamped steel cover, I would recommend putting the sealant on the block itself, so you know exactly where the sealant is and you know for sure it's going to seal. And that's what I did the second time. I cleaned off the cover, cleaned off the block, and I put the sealant on the block itself. So that way I know exactly where the sealant is and there's not a bunch of, you know, mess going on. What's on today's agenda is I'm going to install the heads on the block and, you know, all the things that are associated with that. And then at that point, it's going to be pretty much a complete engine, and I will be able to bring it to my dad's house and pull the engine out of the Subaru and start swapping over parts that I'm going to reuse from the old motor. And there's probably some of you out there who are wondering, why do I have it on an engine stand in my guest bedroom? Reason being, I mean, you need to work on an engine stand. Probably what you're thinking is, how am I going to get it outside? I did some quick math. You know, it's not exact weighing, but this engine with the heads on it and installed is going to be about 170 pounds. So, you know, I was figuring me and my brother could just carry it out. And if you turn it sideways, it'll fit through the door. So that should be no issue. So kind of all the parts I have left for the engine is just long block related stuff. But I got these ARP head studs, my gasket set with my head gaskets and stuff like that, and then the heads. And I showed you guys before the Brian Crowler stage 2 cams, Brian Crowler valves, Brian Crowler double valve springs, all that stuff is installed in there. All I need to do is disassemble it, re-lube everything, and then install them onto the block. So I'm going to assume that if you are, you know, this far into the car community, that you probably know about ARP hardwares. They're just like the leading in the industry on making high quality, high strength hardware. Subarus use head bolts from factory. So they just kind of go in these holes right here, and that's your head bolt. And it's a literal bolt. This is a stud because it's threaded on both sides. So it's a stud. Bolts have a head on them. They look like the case bolts, but the difference being, they're for the heads. There's a weird, you gotta like pre-stretch the bolts by like torquing them to a certain spec and then completely loosening them, and it's pretty complicated. That's not the issue being, but the fact that the stock bolts are pretty stretchy. So these bolts right here, like, I don't really know how to explain it, but they're just a lot stronger, less stretchy. If you have a really stretchy bolt and you torque it down to factory specs, which is probably 40 foot-pounds, and you're running like really high boost pressures, what'll happen is all of your pressure, of course, is in the cylinder, and in these areas right here, you have a lot of pressure buildup, and that can cause the head to lift off of the block, causing a head gasket leak, blowing a head gasket. That's how you do it. The purpose of these studs is these bolt into the block and the heads go on there, and you can torque these way down. These are 90 foot-pound final torque rating, so you can really sandwich the head and the head gasket onto the block, run a lot higher boost pressures without having to worry about gasket failure or lifting a head. These are $220 for this set of bolts. Definitely worth it. It's a great thing to improve reliability on a built motor or even on a stock motor. Also, one thing I like to say, I'm not sponsored by these guys. Wish I was. But so when it came in here, I got one of these washers in my washer set was a different size. I was like, I'm not sure if that's right. So I called them and they sent me a new washer in a day. It was one day. And then, I mean, they're close to me, so that's probably why I got so close. I think they're somewhere in Southern California. But great customer service, you know, best in the business. So go ahead and buy ARP bolts. Not a sponsor, but you know, y'all probably already know about ARP, and it's a good company, so why not shout it out? So I think I'm going to start off by getting these heads torn apart and get them all cleaned and stuff. I'll probably do one at a time just to kind of keep minimum on all the stuff laying around. Oh my. Sticky stuff getting everywhere. Now I'm just going to clean up some of these surfaces with lacquer thin. Per ARP's instructions, it says to run the studs into the block hand tight. So ARP just says hand tight. I probably should have got a thread chaser because these didn't go in as smooth as they should have, but we're gonna go with it. So you pretty much just thread them in until that you feel it bottom out, like it's for sure bottomed out, and then it just is hand tight. So thread them down to bottom out, but these can back out. So I just used an Allen key, you see, and I just kind of snugged it, but it doesn't really move much once it's bottomed out because it's bottomed out. But you kind of just want to give it a little bit of pressure behind it so that you know it's like good and bottomed out and it's not going to back out on you. So they're, you know, they're in there, you know. And then as a second system of precaution, I'm going to get a like straight edge and lay it across the top of these bolts and make sure that they're all the same level. Alright, they all look good. So now that I've assured that the head studs are properly in place, I'm now going to install the head gasket. And you want to make sure that this hole right up here is not blocked off. That needs to have, you know, circulation room. And now the head should be able to go on. Nice and easy. Okay, so now that I got the nuts on, you know, hand tight, they're a little like they're just hand tight. I can go ahead and start torquing these down. So here's the sequence. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it's starting from the center, work your way out, and go crisscross. So now the next torque is going to be 60 foot-pounds. Same sequence, just 60 foot-pounds. And the final torque is 90 foot-pounds, same sequence. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to pull every single bucket and make sure that the top of the valve stem is lubed up good. And then I'm going to put it on, and then I'm going to put Lucas assembly oil all around the whole deal. You know, make sure it's nice and good, and then put them all back. I'm just going to do them one at a time so I can, you know, easily put them back where they belong, because these little buckets are how you do your valve adjustment. If you look down inside, you can see a number corresponding to what size it is. So now I can lube up the camshafts, and I could put them into their positions. Alright, so I got that main cam cap on, and I cleaned up some of the squeeze out all around. You make sure you clean out the squeeze out right in the inside where the seal's gonna sit. And you can see not too much squeeze out. There's actually a ledge right there. You can see the ledge better there. There's less squeeze out. But I think I got good coverage. It should be fine. Shouldn't leak. If it does leak, this will be easier to fix than, say, the oil separator would be. So the next step in this process is to install these guys, which are called half moons. They go in these little sections right here. So I just put a little bit of ultra gray on those, and then slide them in and make sure that they're flat, and then let them cure. So everything's in. Got the ARP head studs, the half moons are in. All that needs to go on is the valve cover, but I'm gonna hold off on doing that until like I have a lot more stuff assembled on it, in case I need to go back in here and do something. I'm also gonna probably check the valve lash real quick and just double check what that is. But all I need to do now is assemble the other head on the other side, and I'll be back once that's done. Okay, so in the last clip I said that I was going to show you the engine once I got the other head on and stuff. No, I forgot to do that, so I'm just going to show you now. Everything's starting to get assembled anyways, but just for sake of video. Here's the engine. So I got both heads on. Valve covers are installed. Got the coils and spark plugs in, and now there's a bunch of other stuff that wouldn't have been on for that video, but since I'm assembling the motor now, it is. But yeah, there's the engine with both heads on. So that's going to be it for this video. The next video you're going to see is going to be pulling the engine out of the Subaru, which you can tell is already done. So yeah, next video will be engine pull, and then the video after that is going to be assembly and stuff. So subscribe so you can get notified when those new videos come out. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.